This review is not sponsored. I bought this JMBricklayer Model A set, which comes with 1,297 pieces and retails for $70 US. I bought it for $53 US because that's the only price that it was available for on Amazon as well as the JMBricklayer US website. This is an original JMBricklayer design. I asked them about that. Not a licensed rebrand. Many of the sets that this brand does are licensed rebrands from other companies that have their own designs. And a viewer on Twitch, when I was building this live, indicated to me that based on what they see on the bricks themselves, the bricks are manufactured by the Xingbao brand, which has been around for some time. The quality of the bricks here was just not an issue for me. It's not the best in the industry, but definitely well within the range of what I consider to be just not a problem at all. The set has a full set of lights, and I'll demonstrate that later on. These are drum lacquered or coated pieces. You can see just slightly a difference in the amount of shine between these curves and the flat pieces there. That right there is a sticker, the only sticker in the entire set, interestingly enough. This color, a lot of people comment on the color of the wheels. It is perfectly fine. It's not exactly what was available as one of the options. There were like hundreds of options for the Model A's during the years of production, but there's one that's very, very close to this. So this is plenty accurate enough. Olive green for the main color here. There is an engine underneath that you can see, and you can build this in two forms. Once you get to the end, you can either have the hardtop up, or you can put it into a convertible form where it just has the little tonneau cover, little small one in the back, and they include parts for that. So you get either option. The doors open. Again, I'll show you the interior details. Just first wanted to give you a general overview of what this looks like. It has specialized wheels, wheel inserts, and also tires, full spares on both sides as well. Rumble seat is back here. You can open that up. There weren't a whole lot of pieces in this that I'm not familiar with. Mostly the wheels and tires. I think there might have been a couple other small things, but mostly recognizable designs. And the build process was advanced. By that, I mean, I would not recommend this to someone who is new to brick building or anything close. There were a lot of areas, a lot of points along the way where I felt that it would be better to have three hands than just two. It definitely took me longer to put this together than I would normally expect for the number of pieces. And the order of operations was not always 100% where I would expect it to be. Some things I felt like I should do a later step before an earlier one. Also, not everything was self-aligning, like in the door here. This is a little bit fragile while you're putting it together, and it doesn't, you can actually see right there that the stack doesn't fill up the full space. So you need to align things in a specific way to get, just to get success, to get everything to actually snap together properly, which just requires a little bit of extra care and a little bit of extra work and time. The interior is nice. It looks very classy, which is important, especially for the convertible option where you'll be seeing that interior very, very easily. And the steering wheel is connected. So they do have a gear train in there to allow this to work. But it's a little bit rough. Took, again, a little bit extra time to get things to line up. And it still isn't as smooth as I would like it to be. Like I'm putting extra pressure in there right now. And yeah, it just takes a second for it to overcome that. So things are just a little bit tighter than I would want to be, even though I tried to loosen them up. I also found that one of the door hinge pieces tends to come off a little bit too easily. It's very easy to push that back together, but it is annoying that happens. I am not new to building brick-based stuff, including things that have a mix between bricks and kind of that more technical style of build. So I'm aware of the need to orient things properly, to be aware of tolerances on bushings and gears and axles and things. And I did pay attention to all that stuff here. So this just isn't quite up to par with what I personally expect. The tires up front, okay, those spin okay. I did a little bit of massaging to move the tires across in their bead. The rear ones are still rubbing a little bit. Both sides. Just could have used an extra half bushing of spacer to push this away from some of the pieces on the inside, because just some of this tread, again, on the inside is rubbing there. I do like the return here of these old finger joint pieces. in both the 3 and 2 prong versions. So that's nice. And again, the overall look is good. Let's take a look at the lights. With the lights on, you saw the main connector for the lights in the trunk. Initially, I thought they had gone overboard and given you way more connections than you needed, but we're very close to what we actually need for this set because it does have a lot of lights. Included battery box uses just 3 AA batteries, and there you go. So you've got the side runner lights here, the main headlights, some relatively dim tail lights here just in red. And then there's also a cabin light as well, which you saw how that lit up in here. That's actually pretty significant. It's one up in the roof, which is nice. But there's one of these lights that isn't on right now. It's this one, and that's my fault. With a huge asterisk though. You see, on the product page for this set, on the JMBricklayer website, if you scroll way down, there's some light text that tells you you need to use the battery box. You can't actually plug the thing into USB. This in spite of the fact that the battery box has a USB-A terminal and the plug that you use with that is a USB-A plug. They just didn't remember, somebody didn't remember to put the circuitry in there to allow it to work with modern plugs that are capable of putting out more than 5 volts, because they're adaptable to faster charging and such. And so I plugged this while I was building it into a USB-A port, and I noticed that there was a difference in some of the brightness between some of the LEDs, and then one of them shorted out. So this one is no longer working. It's my fault because I had seen that notice way down there on the page. However, in the instructions, they don't let you know about that, and there's no errata that's included in the box. Similarly, the box itself doesn't note that either. Separate from that, as you put this together and you route the wires for all the different lights through the chassis and through the body, there are a bunch of areas where you have to pinch the wires. That is absolutely standard. That is how it is almost always done in the industry when you're adding lights to a brick-based thing. There are areas where you're going to pinch the lights. Even here, just getting the wire out, they don't have a really good exit for it. Maybe I could try to get it to come out down at the base, but it's still going to pinch as I open and close this down here. So there are a bunch of spots where you have to be very, very careful. And again, that's just the industry standard. I did break one of the wires. I try to be very careful. I did break one of the wires. Again, I'll take responsibility for that because evidently I just wasn't careful enough. I'm sure plenty of people have built this set without breaking any wires, but I was trying to be careful, but I was also trying to route the wires so that they wouldn't be all up in your face all the time. So most of it is hidden away, and they do give you ideas for paths to make that work, but it does get a little bit rough. And then at the very end, the heart top here has that light up there, which again is great, but it does require some pinching underneath here. And then at the very end, you do end up with this one stretch of cable that has to come down. There's no good way to manage its position, and it does get lightly pinched down here at the base. Just again, have to be careful. All things just to watch out for. These are the only leftover pieces over here. This is what their brick separator looks like with the stud, anti-stud, and axle bits there, as well as a pry bar on this side, which you'd use this way. And this is the assembly for the cover for the top, the soft top, when you put this into its convertible top-down form. Oh, I also wanted to point out that this bag was used and very, very tightly sealed up to protect the 2 windscreen pieces from being scratched up. Again, the retail price of this car is $70 US. As of the time of the recording of this video, I'm seeing it for $55 as the standard price, but that will vary. So I'm going to go with the $70 just out of fairness and in looking at the value. I think that the amount of stuff that's here with the amount of custom unique stuff, as well as the whole lighting system, feels okay. Forget about any intricacies and flaws inside that you don't see. Just what I see here as a presentation, $70 feels okay for the amount of stuff, as long as the quality is good. And the quality is good enough. Honestly, I'm going to be very brutally honest here, and you're not going to expect what I'm about to say. Most of the issues with the design of this, the things that I have problems with, finicky bits of it, fragile bits of it and everything, are absolutely normal absolutely standard in the world of fan designs, what they call mock designs, even though mock stands for my own creation, it's other people's creations. And it's often very, very much worse than that. When people say, oh, well, such and such company made this, I've seen 10 times better from fan designers. And oftentimes those fan designs look a lot better from the outside, but the realities of building them are very, 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 very different. And people don't talk about that very frequently because people want to kind of bump up the little guy. David and Goliath always have bias towards the fan designer. So this has a bunch of those problems. Could have been much worse, but it definitely isn't as sorted as I would like to see for a commercial product. So it's just important. If you like what you see here, I'm not going to say don't buy this. I'm not going to recommend against it because it's beautiful. It looks great on display. It looks fantastic. The issue with the USB thing, though, that's a little bit unforgivable. I think I rather hate that because I would love, and I'm sure plenty of people would love to be able to hook this up to USB and just have it on all the time. Battery boxes I hate, and dealing with battery boxes and having to plug them in and change out the batteries and stuff on long-term displays. Even if you're only going to turn it on, for part of the day, it's just not fun. It's one of the least fun things about having lighting kits. The other least fun thing is running the wires in the first place, which again, this does normally. The issues with pinching wires, that is standard throughout the industry. It needs to not be the standard, but it is to date. So I do absolutely give this a lot of grace with the consideration that it is not a well-sorted mass market product. It's more of a niche product for collectors and for people who are already very experienced with putting together advanced brick builds. If you are not in that group, or if you just don't want to have to deal with finickiness and you don't want to kind of figure things out for yourself along the way, then I would definitely have to recommend against this, because there are a bunch of spots where I needed to kind of go a little bit deep into my tool set to get things to work out, including fixing the wires. But again, I'll say that was my fault. But just the normal stuff along the way, ensuring clearance, getting everything together with only two hands of one individual. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. Beautiful display piece. Brick quality is perfectly fine. Definitely has some quirks. Let me know what you think down in the comments below if you'd like to, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.